In this edition of the Red and Blue Political Roundup, President Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, slammed his former boss in front of Congress Wednesday. The hearing started out argumentative and quickly turned contentious. Cohen shared details of his time working for Mr. Trump. He admitted lying to Congress about plans to build a Trump Tower in Russia and accused the president of committing various criminal acts both before and since taking office. White House columnist for The Hill, Niall Stanage, joins me now from Washington. So, Niall, what is the latest reaction you're hearing from White House officials about Cohen's testimony?
White House officials have always been pretty clear what they think, which is that Michael Cohen is a liar. Of course, he is about to start a prison term, which he has been sentenced to partly because of lying to Congress on a previous occasion. But what the White House line is and how this will be seen by undecided voters or unaffiliated voters is a different question. I think the sheer human drama of Michael Cohen's testimony was very powerful. I think it was very embarrassing for President Trump, even as there are those caveats about Cohen's credibility.
Well, Republicans have focused on attacking Cohen's credibility. Cohen denied an accusation from Republican Congressman Jim Jordan that he turned on President Trump because he didn't get a job in the White House. And here's some of that exchange.
Mr. Cohen, how long did you work for Donald Trump?
Approximately a decade.
10 years?
That's correct.
You said all these bad things about the president there in that last 30 minutes? And yet you worked for him for 10 years? All those bad things, I mean, if it's that bad, I can see you working for him for 10 days, maybe 10 weeks, maybe even 10 months. But you worked for him for 10 years. Mr. Cohen, how long did you work in the White House?
I never worked in the White House.
And that's the point, isn't it, Mr. Cohen?
No, sir.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, sir.
You wanted to work in the White House.
No, sir.
You didn't get brought to the dance.
Sir.
And now?
I was extremely proud to be personal attorney to the President of the United States of America. I did not want to go to the White House.
So, Niall, what do you make of that particular line of attack that we saw from Jim Jordan and other Republicans?
The line of attack that Cohen didn't get a job in the White House is an interesting one because other people have made comments on the record to that effect. I think, though, this is a part of a broader picture where there's an attempt to undercut Cohen's credibility. And it's understandable how that effort proceeds, saying, in effect, you were a die-hard defender of President Trump for a very long time. As part of that remit, you, for example, called up journalists and spoke to them in a very intimidating fashion, were a bit of a pit bull in terms of legal defences of Mr. Trump. And it's only now that you decide that he's a con man and a cheat and a racist. I get that that's an effective and plausible line of attack. And I think it's more plausible when it comes to these value judgments of Cohen. I thought where Cohen did the president more damage was in the specific episodes that he mentioned, suggesting that the president had, for example, suggested or directed he should lie to Congress.
Well, Cohen was also asked by Democrats about the Trump Tower Moscow deal. He said it never went through because the president won the 2016 election. Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz asked about the rest of the Trump family's involvement in those talks, and let's listen to that.
Was Ivanka, Jared, or Don Jr. still involved in the Russian tower deal at that time?
The company was involved in the deal, which meant that the family was involved in the deal.
If Mr. Trump and his daughter Ivanka and son Donald Jr. are involved in the Russian Trump Tower deal, is it possible the whole family is conflicted or compromised with a foreign adversary in the months before the election?
Yes.
So, Niall, why bring up the Trump family, and are there any risks that presents for the president?
There absolutely are risks, and one political risk is the suggestion that the Trump family will be dragged before Congress to testify. In fact, the exchange that you just played, Elaine, seemed to me to be a clear invitation to demand testimony from Ivanka Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump. That is and has always been one of the gravest dangers, politically speaking, to the president from these kind of probes. Now that Democrats are in control of the House of Representatives, they have subpoena power, they can have all kinds of hearings that may or may not uncover criminal wrongdoing, but are at a minimum politically embarrassing for the president and the people around him.
Well, are there any political consequences for the president from Cohen's hearing, you think, Niall?
There are, in the sense that it was a good day for Democrats. Republicans were notably not really defending the president. They were much more focused on undermining Michael Cohen. Mm-hmm. Now, does it have an impact on the president's hardcore base? I think probably not. I think those voters are just inclined to A, believe the president, and B, take the attacks on Cohen's credibility as plausible. So I don't think it moves those people, but in terms of setting the political atmosphere, it's damaging to the president in that respect.
Well, this all happened, of course, as President Trump is in Vietnam for a summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. What are you hearing from the White House and Republicans about just the optics of this?
Well, I mean, the main concern is that the Cohen hearing will distract from and detract from the summit in North Korea, the summit in Hanoi with the North Korean leader. The suggestion on the White House's part has been that there may be some kind of breakthrough announced in the coming hours there. We could see, for example, a formal declaration of the end of the Korean War, where, of course, hostilities ceased a very long time ago. So that's one possibility in that regard.
Well, at last year's summit, the U.S. asked for the full denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, but there were no firm commitments from either side. Are you expecting anything different this time?
No is the short answer. I think that there has been a lack of specificity on that particular issue. Even what the word denuclearization means to the North Koreans is not entirely clear. It's certainly not clear that the North Koreans and the United States mean the same thing on that word. So that's something that is going to be watched very closely. I spoke to foreign policy experts across the political spectrum earlier this week, and they were very sceptical that there would be any concrete and specific deal on verifiable denuclearization.
All right, as the president says, we will see. Niall Stanage, thanks so much, Niall.
Thank you.